My sister laughed in my face, calling my government job pathetic in front of her entire corporate team. But when her CEO walked in and saluted me with trembling hands, saying, "General, forgive me, I had no idea you were here," the color drained from her face. What happened next destroyed her world. Full story script. Hi, I'm Sophia, and this is the story of how one dinner party revelation turned my spoiled sister's life completely upside down. Picture this: Madison Square Garden's most exclusive skybox, crystal chandeliers casting golden light over Manhattan's elite. Designer dresses worth more than most people's cars, champagne that costs $1,000 a bottle, and conversations about mergers and acquisitions floating through air thick with expensive perfume. This was my sister Victoria's world. And tonight, she was about to learn that mine was far more powerful than she ever imagined. "Sophia, darling, you made it." Victoria glided toward me in her custom Valentino gown, her smile as fake as her recent nose job. Behind her trailed her usual crowd: investment bankers, tech executives, pharmaceutical heiresses. All of them looking at me like I was wearing polyester to a silk party. I smoothed down my simple black dress, government salary appropriate, nothing flashy. "Wouldn't miss celebrating your promotion, Vic." She'd just been named senior vice president at Meridian Pharmaceutical, one of the biggest drug companies in the world. At 28, she was their youngest SVP ever, and she made sure everyone knew it. But here's what she didn't know. My boring government job, she constantly mocked. I wasn't just any federal employee. I was Lieutenant General Sophia Chen, the youngest three-star general in U.S. Army history, currently running the Pentagon's most classified biodefense program. And Meridian Pharmaceutical? They were about to become very, very interested in what I had to say. "Everyone, this is my sister Sophia," Victoria announced to her group, her voice dripping with condescension. "She works for the government. Does paperwork things." The group's polite smiles barely concealed their disinterest. Sarah Whitmore, heiress to a hotel empire, actually yawned. "How quaint," drawled Marcus Blackwell, Meridian's head of international sales. "What department?" "Defense," I said simply. Victoria laughed, the sound sharp as breaking glass. "She pushes papers at some military office. Very important stuff, I'm sure." She stage whispered to the group, "She's always been the boring one. No ambition, no drive. Content with her little government salary while the rest of us actually make something of ourselves." If only she knew that my little government salary came with the authority to shut down entire corporations with a single classified briefing. The group tittered, already losing interest and turning back to their conversations about yacht purchases and Swiss ski chalets. But I noticed something, or rather, someone, that made my pulse quicken. Standing near the bar, his face pale as winter snow, was Dr. James Morrison, Meridian's chief executive officer. The man whose company had been under Pentagon investigation for the past 6 months. And he'd just spotted me. I watched as recognition dawned in his eyes, followed immediately by what looked like sheer terror. He fumbled for his phone, his hands shaking as he typed frantically. Victoria was still holding court, regaling her friends with stories about her boring little sister when her phone buzzed. Then again. Then started ringing insistently. "Excuse me," she said, glancing at the screen with irritation. "It's Morrison. Probably wants to congratulate me again." She answered with her most professional voice. "Victoria Chen speaking." From across the room, I watched Morrison's face as he spoke into his own phone, his eyes never leaving mine. "Yes, sir, I'm at the party." "What do you mean, emergency board meeting? Tonight?" "Sir, I don't understand, what's happened?" Victoria's expression shifted from confusion to concern as she listened. The group around her grew quiet, sensing drama. You need to see me immediately? Sir, it's nearly midnight. What do you mean, damage control? Morrison had ended his call and was walking toward us with the determination of a man facing his execution. Victoria, I need to speak with you. Now. His voice was strained, professional courtesy barely masking panic. Of course, Mr. Morrison. Is everything all right? He looked directly at me, and I saw him swallow hard. Actually, I need to speak with your sister first. The entire group turned to stare at me. Victoria's face went through several expressions, confusion, embarrassment, and then growing alarm as Morrison approached me with something that looked almost like reverence. And then he did something that shattered Victoria's world completely. Morrison stopped 3 feet in front of me and executed a perfect military salute. Lieutenant General Chen, it's an honor to meet you, ma'am. I had no idea you were here tonight. The silence was deafening. Victoria's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, crystal exploding against marble floor. Sarah Whitmore's mouth fell open. Marcus Blackwell actually stepped backward as if I'd suddenly caught fire. General? Victoria's voice came out as barely a whisper. Morrison continued, his salute unwavering. Ma'am, I believe we have some urgent matters to discuss regarding Operation Pandemic Shield and Meridian's contractual obligations. Operation Pandemic Shield. The biodefense program that could make or break pharmaceutical companies overnight. The program I'd been running for the past 2 years. The program that Meridian had been trying desperately to get contracts with. I returned Morrison's salute with practiced authority. At ease, Dr. Morrison. Though I'm curious why a pharmaceutical CEO knows military protocol so well. 20 years Navy Medical Corps before joining Meridian, General. And ma'am. His voice dropped to something approaching a whisper. I need to inform you that there may have been some irregularities in our recent compliance reports. Translation, they'd been lying to the Pentagon, and he'd just realized he was confessing to the 3-star general who could destroy his entire company. Victoria looked like she might faint. Sophia, you're a general? The revelation rippled through the group like a shockwave. Suddenly, everyone was staring at me with a mixture of awe and terror, probably running through every military contract their companies had ever touched. Lieutenant General, actually, I corrected, my voice carrying the authority I'd been hiding all night. And Dr. Morrison, those irregularities you mentioned? We've been aware of them for quite some time. Morrison went even paler, if that was possible. Ma'am, I can explain, I held up a hand, and he immediately fell silent. What you can do is ensure that your company's complete cooperation with our investigation begins first thing Monday morning. And Dr. Morrison? I stepped closer, my voice dropping to command level. The Pentagon doesn't appreciate being lied to. Yes, ma'am. Absolutely, ma'am. Whatever you need. Victoria found her voice, though it came out strangled. Sophia, I don't understand. You never told me you were a general? I turned to face my sister, watching her perfect composure crumble. You never asked what I actually did, Victoria. You just assumed it was beneath you. The group around us had grown to include half the party. Word spreads fast when a 3-star general reveals herself at a corporate gathering. Marcus Blackwell, who'd called my job quaint 10 minutes earlier, was now trying to edge closer. General Chen, I don't believe we were properly introduced. Marcus Blackwell, head of international sales at Meridian. If there's anything our company can do to support your operations. I looked at him with the expression I reserved for junior officers who disappointed me. Mr. Blackwell, your company has been under Pentagon investigation for selling substandard medical supplies to our overseas bases. I wouldn't be so eager to volunteer additional cooperation. He went white as his expensive shirt. Sarah Whitmore, the hotel heiress who yawned at my introduction, was suddenly very interested. General, my family's hotel chain has several properties near military bases. If there's ever anything we can do to support our troops. Amazing how quickly attitudes change when people realize you outrank their entire social circle. But it was Victoria's face that held my attention. She looked like her entire world had been turned upside down, which, to be fair, it had. All these years, she whispered, you let me think you were just ordinary. I am ordinary, Victoria. I just happen to be extraordinarily good at my job. Morrison cleared his throat nervously. General, about that board meeting. Will happen Monday at 0800 hours at the Pentagon. You'll bring your complete financial records, all correspondence with overseas contractors, and your head of compliance. Any questions? No, ma'am. We'll be there. And that's when Victoria did something that surprised everyone, including me. She started laughing. Not the brittle, social laugh she'd been using all night, but genuine, slightly hysterical laughter. This is insane, she gasped between laughs. My boring little sister is one of the most powerful people in the military, and I've been treating her like someone beneath you? I suggested gently. The laughter stopped. Victoria's eyes filled with tears, real ones, not the carefully calculated tears she used in business negotiations. Sophia, I am so sorry. I've been such a complete bitch, offered Sarah Whitmore helpfully, apparently trying to get on my good side. Victoria nodded miserably. I thought success meant money and status symbols and impressing people at parties. But you've been protecting the entire country while I've been worried about stock options. Here's where the story takes an unexpected turn. I stepped closer to my sister, lowering my voice so only she could hear. Victoria, do you want to know something? Your promotion to senior VP? It didn't happen because of your impressive sales record. Her eyes widened. What do you mean? Meridian has been desperate to get Pentagon contracts. When they realized Lieutenant General Chen was reviewing their applications, they did some research. Discovered I had a sister working for them. I smiled softly. Your promotion was their attempt to get closer to me through family connections. The color drained from Victoria's face as the implications hit her. You mean, my entire career is built on something you didn't even know existed? Victoria, you've been succeeding on my reputation without realizing it. She staggered backward, grabbing onto Marcus's arm for support. He looked torn between helping her and maintaining his distance from what was clearly about to become a family drama of epic proportions. But that wasn't the real twist. The real twist came when Morrison's phone rang. He answered immediately, his yes, sir, crisp and professional. But as he listened, his expression shifted from nervous professionalism to outright panic. General Chen, he said, ending the call with trembling fingers. That was the Secretary of Defense's office. They're calling an emergency session tomorrow morning. All pharmaceutical companies with Pentagon contracts need to report immediately. I smiled, because I'd been waiting for this call. Dr. Morrison, let me save you some time. Tomorrow morning, the Pentagon will announce that Meridian Pharmaceutical has been selected as the primary contractor for Operation Pandemic Shield. A $5 billion, 10-year contract. The silence that followed was absolutely deafening. Morrison's face went through several expressions before settling on confused gratitude. Ma'am, I don't understand. If we're under investigation. The investigation cleared you 3 days ago. Your company's compliance issues were actually caused by a competitor feeding you false regulatory information, trying to sabotage your Pentagon applications. I looked around the group of shell-shocked executives. We've been monitoring the situation for months. Victoria was staring at me like I'd grown a second head. But this means... Morrison started. This means Meridian's stock will triple by Monday morning. This means Victoria's promotion wasn't just based on nepotism, it was based on her being in exactly the right place when her company became the Pentagon's most important pharmaceutical partner. And here comes the real twist, the one that changed everything. Victoria, I said, turning to my sister, how would you like to be Meridian's new Director of Government Relations? The Pentagon specifically requested that someone with family connections handle our account. Her mouth opened and closed soundlessly. The salary is about 4 times what you're making as SVP. Plus, you'd be working directly with my office on national security projects. Interested? Morrison practically fell over himself agreeing. Yes, absolutely. Ms. Chen, the position is yours if you want it. Victoria found her voice. Sophia, why? After how I treated you tonight, after years of dismissing your work. I stepped closer, taking her hands in mine. Because you're my sister. Because even when you were being a complete snob, you were still family. And because... I smiled, someone needs to keep an eye on these Pentagon contractors, and I trust you to do it right. The tears came then, real ones, washing away years of competitive rivalry and petty jealousy. I don't deserve this, Victoria whispered. No, you don't. But Grandma always said family takes care of family, even when they don't deserve it. 6 months later. I stood in my Pentagon office, looking out at the Potomac River, when my assistant announced that Director Chen was here for our weekly briefing. Victoria walked in wearing her new government credentials and a confidence that came from doing work that actually mattered. She'd traded her designer gowns for professional suits and her corporate manipulation for genuine dedication to national security. General Chen, she get me to stay, offered me double my salary, even threw in a company car, said with a grin, I have the Meridian compliance reports you requested. Thank you, Director Chen. How are you adjusting to government work? She sat down, her smile turning thoughtful. You know what's funny? I make less money than I did in corporate, but I've never been happier. Turns out protecting people feels a lot better than just making profits. I leaned back in my chair, remembering that night at the Skybox party. Any regrets about leaving the pharmaceutical world behind? Victoria laughed, the real laugh, not the corporate one. Are you kidding? Do you know what Marcus Blackwell said when I quit? He begged, what did you tell him? I told him that my sister taught me the difference between having a job and having a purpose. Through my office window, I could see the Washington Monument standing tall against the evening sky, a reminder of the principles this country was built on. Victoria, can I tell you something? Of course. That night at your party? When Morrison saluted me and everyone's attitude changed. That wasn't the victory. She looked confused. It wasn't? No. The victory was watching you realize that success isn't about impressing people who don't matter. It's about doing work that does matter, with people who do matter. I smiled at my sister. The victory was getting my sister back. Victoria wiped away a tear, but she was smiling. So what's our next mission, General? I handed her a classified folder marked Operation Medical Freedom, our next project to ensure that life-saving medications reached military families worldwide. Ready to save some more lives, Director Chen? Victoria opened the folder, her expression serious and determined. Always, General Chen. Always. And that's how a dinner party revelation didn't just change my sister's attitude, it changed her entire life's purpose. The girl who once mocked my boring government job now runs one of the Pentagon's most critical civilian-military partnerships. She went from caring about stock prices to caring about saving lives. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying someone's world. Sometimes it's showing them a better one.